Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative for the environmental work that you've done. I have one comment about when you said that there are strong enough environmental laws. It seems like we're really lacking in laws that prevent interstate transportation of air pollution. So, for example, in Utah, there's a lot of energy development in the Uinta Basin. They don't have to monitor PM 2.5 particulates there because it's not a population center of 50,000 people. But downwind from that would be Grand Junction, Colorado, which is, so that air pollution doesn't really count because we don't have laws that cover interstate transport. One other question I have for you is, whatever happened to the suit that 9 states had against the EPA on the clean air mercury rule?
On the 9-state lawsuit, we're winning that lawsuit at this point. So, on your other comment about air pollution, you're right. What we passed, let me amend what I said. Congress passed very, very strong environmental laws. The Clean Water Act, when we passed the Clean Water Act, it was supposed to eliminate all pollution by 1984, and it still says that in the Clean Water Act. Regulatory agencies and the state governments that are the frontline enforcers for those acts. And on the state level, it's much easier for large corporations to dominate the state political landscapes, and they use their power in the states and also in the regulatory process federally, but more importantly in the states, to erode the original intent of those statutes. So if you read the statute, the statute intends to get rid of all air pollution. You're not allowed, the air is the commons, you're not allowed to pollute it. And the Clean Air Act was really a scheme for gradually eliminating all air pollution in the country, the same way as the Clean Water Act was, but it was gradually corrupted and eroded by the state. If you just restored the initial meaning of it, you wouldn't be able to transport those pollutants. But, this is what happens when, again, you have the corporations move in after we pass these statutes and will gradually chip away at them.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I was very impressed with the courage of the people that were protesting. Do you have any, what happened to those people? Did they lose their jobs? Did they find themselves in legal trouble, or were they able to escape any?
Well, so this was a big part of why we made this movie, and why, at least for me, and you may disagree, of course, I find it a really inspiring story. I mean, for those who believe that having a powerful democracy controlled by and for the people, was something our forefathers squared away, and we should coast happily along, clicking and drinking and eating, then we're going to be disappointed. But for those who remember that we got a country because a bunch of farmers took on the superpower of the time on a bridge in Concord, Massachusetts, and the people in this country have been fighting to perfect democracy in lots of ways since we began, then we expect to have problems, and you're seeing examples of people who've really fought them off, and they fought them off against the absolutely bound cultural power in the state of West Virginia. The coal industry has had its thumbs on the throat of that state's political and economic apparatus for generations. They fought it back against the Bush administration, which was certainly inclined to partner with the energy industry. And they stopped, Massey Big Mine in Kentucky. They stopped the biggest already permitted mine. With Bobby's help, they stopped 79 new permits that were going to issue new mines. They got the new school. Blanket ship, yes, pockets stuffed full of cash, like many CEOs who go out on with the tar and feather, but went out with tar and feathers. So in a lot of ways, they've been very successful, and it's not without strain on them. But I think they're generally very enthusiastic.
Excuse me, I want to congratulate you on a phenomenal movie, and what I liked about it was not only you put on the problem, but you missed the solution. On that solution with those windmills, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. You said that the counties would get positive revenue for quite a bit in the next 17 or 20 years. My question is, who finances these? Is it possible to get the federal government to make a short-term loan or long-term loan to help finance them, and they get reimbursed with some joint venture profit incentive so the counties make more money and they have financial incentive as a profit center as well as the government?
So, first of all, thank you. Second, the economics at the county level, which is what you're referring to, in the case of Coal River Mountain, we've talked about varied distortions of the economic system, because the coal industry will talk about free market and jobs, but as you watch, They're actually decimating jobs and manipulating the market so it's anything but free. And that happens at the national level and the state level, but it also happens through the state at the county level. So the deal for the coal industry, as an example, if you mine the coal at Coal River Mountain, Massey gets $1.8 billion cash. Okay? And they pay the county in taxes $30,000 a year for 8 years. 240 grand. Okay? But because they have a special deal in the tax code in West Virginia, if you put a normal industry in, like wind industry, the wind industry actually, which will still be going after 6 years, will arguably be going after 60 years, creating more and more and more jobs without decimating the landscape, and will be paying that same county, otherwise impoverished economically, ecologically, and in terms of its public health. They pay not $30,000 a year, but $1.7 million a year. So they enrich the county. So what we don't actually, I mean, although I'm grateful for your notion that the federal government could support the wind, in reality, the wind is economical by itself. And it's better for the county, and it's better for long-term jobs. The technology exists today.
But
The
somebody's
issue
got to
is,
buy that technology. Somebody's got to pay for those things out there, and that's, we want that. How do we get it?
I don't want to do that. Well, we could debate this afterwards, and I want to let other people ask questions, but
I'm not debating. I'm saying that's a great idea. How do we finance it? I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm on the board of the biggest green tech venture capital firm in the country. There's lots and lots of private, which is called Vantage Point, that's very profitable. I'm building wind farms and solar farms all over North America. There's plenty of money out there to build. There's plenty of capital out there to build those farms. The two problems we have is transmission. We don't have a national smart grid. That's what we need to carry the energy from the big solar centers in the desert Southwest, the wind centers in the Midwest, and the Northeast, to the marketplaces. If you did that, every farmer in North Dakota wants to put wind turbines on their property because the value of their land goes from $800 for a cornfield to $3,000 if they got corn and wind. So they all want to do it. You have huge amounts of capital around the borders of North Dakota from big players, Siemens, Vestas, General Electric, T. Boone Pickens, Vantage Point, Warren Buffett, and others who want to flood into that state for this gold rush and build the wind towers. The problem is they can't get the electrons to market in St. Louis, Cleveland, Cincinnati, New York, because the current grid that we have cannot do long-haul transmission of electrons. It's not a smart grid that can intelligently store and deploy wind energy at night, solar energy during the day. We have the capacity to do that, and the Obama administration is doing it now. 2 Wednesdays ago, one of my companies broke ground on the biggest solar plant in the world, the biggest power plant in America, 3.7 gigawatt power plant in the Mojave Desert. We're building that plant in 2 years. It takes 10 years to build a coal plant. We're building it for $3 billion. It costs per gigawatt. It costs $3 billion a gigawatt to build a coal plant. So we're building it at the same price. But once you build our plant, it's free energy forever because the photons are hitting the Earth every day for free. Once you build that coal plant, you put the $3 billion in, now you got to go get the fuel. So you got to cut down the Appalachian Mountains, ship them across the country, burn the coal, poison every fish in America, poison 640,000 kids a year, kill 60,000 Americans. Once you build an oil plant, which costs $3 billion a gigawatt, now you have to go to Saudi Arabia, punch holes in the ground, bring up the oil, refine it expensively, genuflect the sheiks, and hate democracy, despise by their own people, and periodic wars, bring it across the Atlantic with military escorts, which you and I pay for, not Exxon. Spill it all over the Gulf, spill it all over Valdez, burn it and poison everybody in the country. So the big costs occur after you build the plant. Once you build our plant, it's free energy forever. We have 1,000 gigawatts at peak demand in our country. 500 of those gigawatts are currently carbon-based. To replace those, $3 billion a gigawatt is $1.5 trillion. That's about a third of the projected cost for the Iraq War. It's 2 years of oil imports in this country, and every American then gets free energy forever. That's an investment we ought to be making. It will all come from private capital, except the transmission grid, and that's what the government needs to do. Build that